So I'm going to start by showing you the forearm block, and the block is going to be an outside forearm block. If you let your hands just lay by your side with your thumbs facing forward, and you just look at the areas of your forearm that are on the inside to your body, and then you look at the areas that are on the outside, this will generally give you an idea of how to describe what's an inside and what's an outside forearm block and stuff. So we're doing an outside forearm block. So I'm going to walk you through the process. And what we're going to see here is you make a fist and have the thumb facing away from you, okay, outwards, all right? Then as you push out, on the moment that you're making contact with the block, imagine you're blocking somebody, you're going to rotate. You're going to twist that fist back around. So the best way I could do it is put a fist against your chest with the thumb facing away from you, and then move out to do your block. And when you're making contact, the moment that you're making contact, that moment right then and there, okay, you're doing a rotation and stuff. Okay, so what I described is a very basic, ideal, fundamental mechanic, and a very effective one. However, I want to point out that you could do a classic block that, of just sticking your arm out and like a deflecting or like a shield. It doesn't have to involve the rotation, and they can be effective as well. And one of the effective parts of that type of block is just the way you thrust it out. So make sure that you're firm and with conviction in thrusting it out, and as a shield and a deflecting type of way. But ideally, regardless of what school or style of martial art or whatnot, if you can get a little bit of that rotation, that torque in there, it's going to be incredibly effective, and you're going to actually take a little bit less damage as well. So here you can see me doing versions of the outside forearm block. These versions are, okay, just imagine different punch angles coming toward you. So they can be low ones or mid ones that are coming somewhere toward your waist, your gut, right? And then rising all the way up. And there's 45-degree and the quarter types coming, you know, roundhouse punches and also kicks or whatever coming toward you and stuff. And then there's also a position which is the actual overhead. So it will be, and like the name describes, your block will be overhead, across your head and stuff like that. One of the key points of your block is do your block and then hold it there and check, because you don't want to make your block so shallow or so off on an angle or something so that if a stick or something came directly crushing down on you, it would hit your block, your forearm, but still also make contact with your head. So you want to make sure you have enough height so that it actually does the block, and you're not going to inadvertently or still get hit with that strike as well. So one of the mistakes is the block becomes too shallow or too close to our head. Another mistake is it's not across our head enough. So it's barely just getting there. So maybe the fist reaches our head. And of course, ultimately, there is no right and wrong in the sense that you're just going to try to execute the block relative to the strike coming toward you. Whether that's 45, 25% or degrees over your head doesn't really matter, does it? Okay, so long as you're actually, you know, aiming it and lining it up with the strike that's coming toward you. Once you get the feel for it, once you get the hang of it, and you don't of how to do that torque, how to do that twisting action involved with your blocks, then you don't always have to do a dedicated chamber, or your chamber can occur from anywhere. So ultimately, in a hybrid or modified type of move, or in a sparring or any type of situation other than a dedicated classic textbook chamber, okay, the rotation of the fist forward so that you can then rotate it the other way to get the torque, that all happens in the motion of the block actually happening. So if your hands are down by your side and somebody throws your punch, okay, you're going to start to move that hand, your arm, in the direction to actually block. And when you do that, you should already be calibrating the fist forward, okay, and then do your rotation. It doesn't have to be perfect, and like I said, ultimately, okay, you want to actually just get some kind of shield and some kind of block, whether you get a rotation, a torque, whether you get any type of a chamber or not. but you will need to have some kind of firmness, some kind of conviction, because a strike can just smash into your fist, smash into your arm, and then your arm smashes into you. And so it's still a hit, but it's not as ruthless of a hit. I'd still rather my fists get punched first and then get smashed into my face than my face just take a direct shot. So I'll still rather that. So, okay, so in these next series, what you see me doing is I'm just demonstrating all types of versions of the block, all types of angles of the block. You should practice these blocks in all different kinds of stances, and like we discussed before, always check your stances. Try to get a feel that you're not leaning over too much. When you do the block, try to bend at your knees after to get a feel of whether you're in control, like how many other things can you do after you do the block, or is your position and stance so poor that it's like a balancing act? You're on a little needle point or something, so you must just stay completely still, because if you do any move after that, you'll topple over or fall sideways or something, and that's a poor stance. And that's so sometimes a cool thing is do your block, okay, and then do a little dip left and right, do a little bob up and down with your legs. Make sure that you have a good foundation and that you can do other things. You can recover, retreat out, advance forward, or do a couple of other blocks as well. There's no one type of hand does the block based on one type of stance. So whatever stance you're in, let's say that you're in a stance with the left foot forward, I want you to do some blocking with your left hand, but maintain that stance, and then also do some blocking with your right hand. I want you to do blocking and then also punching the same way. If your left foot is facing forward, block with the left, punch with the right, but then maintain that stance and block with the right, punch with the left. So don't be limited to any type of coordination or any type of pairing. Okay, be liberated from all those things, because punches and situations come from any side and any angle and stuff like that. So and then the same goes, switch stance and then do the same thing again. All right, so here you see me kind of warming up and stuff, but also what I'm doing is I'm going through all of these examples of the body angles, the leans and stuff, and that's what I'm trying to emphasize here and what I'm trying to show you. You could remain level and in place when you're doing your blocks. You can step into them and remain level and stuff. You could lean back and do your blocks. You can step back while leaning back. There's all these versions, right? You get my point and stuff. If you just imagine the attacker, imagine the strike coming to you, it's going to help make a lot more sense what I just said and stuff. So if somebody punches to you, one great way to try to avoid that punch is to tilt sideways or lean back. Okay, so now what you're just going to add to that natural type of flinching or leaning back or ducking or tilting sideways to avoid the punch, or at least get out of the way of the direct line of the punch, is you're going to slip in a block with that as well. So that's all you're doing. So if you're going to lurch forward, or if you're going to bend at the knees and just do a complete low duck, throw in your block as well. Practice your blocks with any of the type of reflexes that you would normally do, or any type of a defensive evasive maneuver that you would do. Practice your blocks with them as well. There's no ultimate right and wrong. Completely lurching forward, purposely leaning forward, bending over, bending backwards, tilting to the side, bending at the knees, bending at the waist, only moving your neck. Okay, do your blocks and your punches in all of those. Practice a dedicated block, then a punch, especially in the beginning, so you get an idea of the mechanics, and so that you don't start to cheat and do some bad mistakes. It's a good way to get you started in good habits and stuff. And when you feel comfortable, definitely what we're going to also aim for is blocking and striking at the same time, or very, very quickly after the other, so that there's not a lot of time between your block and your punch, as if somebody just sat there and waited for you to just hit them after they were blocked, which is not going to be the case. All right, so let's get on with the drills.